Arizona is such a huge destination for bird watchers from all over the world. People come to Arizona to see our special birds.
We get over 800 species or varieties of birds in North America. Amazingly, in Arizona, over 500 species of birds have been documented. Arizona is very special.
So pretty much anywhere you are in Arizona, you can attract hummingbirds to your yard.
People find out that you're a nature photographer and they say that must be an amazing profession, and it is.
So you're up close and personal watching them do what they want to do.
Birdwatching across Arizona is made possible by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. And by Arizona Field Optics in Prescott, Arizona, helping individuals deepen their connection to nature through quality optics. Specializing in Swarovski and Vortex binoculars and spotting scopes for nature lovers, bird watchers, and outdoorsmen. Visit us at ArizonaFieldOptics.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Whether their wingspans are 3.5 inches or 9.5 feet, simply watching birds do what they do can be a rewarding pastime. If you're a beginning birdwatcher, there's no more convenient place to start than your own backyard.
You know, it's interesting, as people start to progress into the hobby of bird watching, it's kind of a natural progression. For most people, it comes later in life. It doesn't start early in life. Oftentimes, it's individuals who maybe have been busy with a career, and all of a sudden they find themselves retired, or they've become an empty nester, and they're looking for something to fill a void in their life, fill a gap, and they start to notice there's birds in their yard. Interestingly, there's always been birds in their yard, but they never really noticed them before. But now they have a little more discretionary time. They'll sit out on the deck, they'll sit in the kitchen, they'll look out the window, they start to see bird activity, and it starts to pick their interest.
Eric Moore owns Jay's Bird Bar, so he's helped plenty of folks who've been interested in what they've spotted in their backyards.
And so they start coming into Jay's Bird Barn, for example, where we are backyard wild bird experts, and the typical question is identification. You know, people will come in and they'll either describe it verbally, or they've taken a picture with their phone or with a camera, and they want to show us the picture they've taken, and they want to know what they saw. And so that's typically how it starts. It starts really simply, and then it kind of grows on individuals. I tell people that bird watching is addictive. The more you start watching bird behavior and the color of birds and the variety of birds, it becomes more and more fascinating to individuals.
It doesn't take much to get going, but Eric suggests a couple of items that will help someone get started.
Probably the most basic tool of anybody getting interested in bird watching is actually a pair of binoculars, even before a field guide probably. A binocular is going to bring nature to you. Birds, they like their privacy. You get too close, they fly away. They're best viewed from a distance. You get too close, it's not going to work. They are very wary of human activity typically. And so you need a pair of binoculars to bring that bird closer to you so you can see the details. Does it have an eye ring? Does it have an eye stripe? Does it have wing bars? You know, what color is it under the tail, or on the throat, or on the belly, or on the breast, or on the head? You got to look at all these little nuances for identification. The most important being probably beak structure. You got to look at the beak. Is it a conical shaped beak for seed cracking? Is it a thin pointed beak for foliage gleaning, an insect eater? You know, as you start to look at these critical features in a bird, that helps you then to go to a bird book, and then you know where to start looking for the bird that you saw. There's a guide called the Sibley Guide to Birds of Western North America. Well, Western North America is pretty big. It covers Alaska, Canada, Washington, Oregon, California, Montana, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you're living in Arizona and you're in a specific habitat, you're going to see specific birds to that habitat. And so you don't need a book that covers the entire western region of North America, perhaps. Maybe you need something that's more localized. And so there's birds on Arizona or southeastern Arizona, or birds of the south, or birds of the Arizona Central Highlands. So it's specific just to a region within Arizona. So it helps you as a birder to narrow down your search. Because if you see a new bird for the first time and you have a bird book that has 600 species in it, it's difficult to find that new bird. But if you have a folding guide that's specific to the Arizona Central Highlands, where you are at that moment, it only has 72 birds in it. You're going to narrow it down to a much smaller field of possibilities, and you can find that bird more quickly to identify it.
In the world of birding, there's what they call the spark bird. That's that one bird that just catches your imagination and gets you so interested in this previously invisible to you world of birds. And for a lot of people, the spark bird is a hummingbird. Hummingbirds they're relatively comfortable living in urban and suburban environments. They're very brave. They'll come up and look you right in the face. There are an awful lot of birds that won't do that. You're not going to have a bald eagle come fly up and look you in the face. And they're relatively easy to attract to our yards and gardens.
Everyone kind of knows that hummingbirds are attracted to things that are red, and I think most everyone knows that they like to feed from flowers that are trumpet-shaped. Anything that's kind of got a bright red or orange tone in particular is something they're going to be attracted to, and luckily there's a lot of plants here in the desert that are perfectly suited to be hummingbird feeders, and several of those are in bloom here today. The main one you're going to see is something we call yellow bells or Tacoma stands. They actually can be arranged from yellow to orange to red, but that's a major attractor for hummingbirds. Salvias of all varieties are another very heat-hardy species that does well here and that hummingbirds love. We've got a red salvia actually right behind me here. Other ones they like are honeysuckle. They're fond of honeysuckle. Lilies, we've got a red lily in bloom right now that they're going to be attracted to. They don't actually have a very strong sense of smell. So visual attraction is really what they're all about. So bright flowers that have the right shape for their little beaks to get in and sip nectar out are what they're looking for. So this is another plant that's great for the gardens here in the valley. It's a Mexican native called a firecracker bush or a hummingbird bush, actually. So obviously it's a favorite with that red tubular flower on it of the local hummingbirds, and it's great in our soil and in our heat because it's straight out of Mexico. So this is foxglove, also known as digitalis. Yeah, it's another one that's got a nice tubular shape and a bright color that the hummingbirds are attracted to, and lots of nectar down in at the base of that trumpet for them to lap up with their groovy little tongues. So here we have two great hummingbird attractors in bright colors. The taller one is called a red pentas. And that's really commonly available in like big box nurseries. And so is the shorter one, which is called a Sweet William or Dianthus. Both of those are very commonly available in nurseries and very popular with the hummingbirds. So for people who prefer to grow edibles in their garden, there's a lot of options for feeding the hummingbirds as well. This is a pomegranate that has that beautiful red tube-shaped flower that hummingbirds will feed from. And at the end of it, you get pomegranate, so there's a bonus. This is another variety of the many salvias that we can grow here. This one is a cultivar called Wendy's Wish. It's got kind of a wider leaf than the little Greggy eyes we saw, but it's another one that's got the shape and color. Oh, so this is a succulent. That's another Mexican native. It's called red yucca or false sarsaparilla. And this one is, so if you're looking for something that's less of a shrub and more of a succulent plant, this is a great choice. And another one that's very heat hardy and very sun hardy. So this is a pretty little flowering summer annual called an angelonia. Sometimes they also call it a summer snapdragon because it's very heat tolerant compared to the regular snapdragons, but has a very similar little flower, again with that trumpet shape to it. Does very well in the warm season here. Hummingbirds don't only eat nectar. They also eat small insects, and quite a few. They're actually one of the major sort of consumers of insects amongst the bird kingdom. So, things that we can do to help them with that part of their diet are to, for example, let our herbs actually flower out instead of just picking them all before they flower. Those flowers actually attract an enormous number of small flying insects that the hummingbirds can then zoom by and eat. Also, if you've got a compost bin, there's little gnats and things that fly up from the compost. I notice whenever I lift up my compost bin lid and start working with it, the hummingbirds will start dive bombing because they're going after all these little insects in my compost. So anything we can kind of do to encourage tiny flying insects, or just by letting things flower out and attract not only the hummingbirds with a diversity of flowers that are going to attract their attention, but is also going to attract other creatures that the hummingbirds rely on, like tiny insects. So having a whole diverse system really is part of what encourages a hummingbird to come and stay. Also having a water source, especially a running or misting water source, is something that attracts hummingbirds because they need to drink too. I only recently found out a lot of hummingbird feeders. Well, number one, I think a lot of people know that you're not supposed to put red food coloring into the hummingbird feeder. As long as you've got something red on it, they'll find it. And the food coloring may be harmful to their systems. Another thing people may not realize is that sometimes those hummingbird feeders will have little yellow accents on them, but those actually may attract wasps and bees. So our recommendation is kind of to remove those yellow elements, paint them red, or just remove them altogether, and that way you won't get wasps and bees competing with your hummingbirds. It's good to have feeders out there, really is. It helps them out, but sort of, within parameters, the correct proportion of water to sugar, which is typically 4 parts water to 1 part sugar, and just not putting anything else in there and making sure you're cleaning it out regularly so mildew doesn't get in there, which can actually harm the hummingbirds if they ingest it.
Most people start on a very casual basis. In fact, oftentimes when people come in and say, I'm interested in feeding the birds, I've never fed the birds before, they're not even willing to buy a big bag of birdseed because they're not sure if they're going to stay with it. It's like, well, I'll buy a small bag. Or when they are looking at binoculars, like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with this hobby, so I'm going to buy an inexpensive entry-level pair instead of a more expensive, better quality pair because I don't know if this interest is going to stay or if it's just a momentary thing. But if they grow into the hobby and they want to continue to expand their knowledge of birds, then really the thing that people tend to do is they tend to gravitate towards organizations within communities that cater to that hobby, such as a local Audubon Society chapter. There are many Audubon Society chapters throughout the state of Arizona. They typically have monthly membership meetings. They have bird walks that they offer, sometimes several different bird walks a month. I know here in Prescott, where I live, our local chapter leads bird walks, particularly in the Yavapai County area, but sometimes outside of the county. And then there's organizations like Jay's Bird Barn where we offer free guided bird walks that people can participate in. And so at that point, people are more motivated. In the Prescott area, we're surrounded by the Prescott National Forest. We've got several man-made lakes, Lynx Lake, Willow Lake, Watson Lake. We've got a lot of trail systems. And so individuals incorporate birding into other hobbies such as biking, hiking, or just walking, like the Peavine Trail. It's very easy just to go on a walk in Watson Woods and take your binoculars with you, and you can combine going for a walk and birding. And so you don't need to be a part of a group to do that. I tend to bird alone, typically, and very rarely will you ever see me out in nature without wearing my binoculars. I know it seems a little ridiculous, but birding's one of those hobbies where you never know what you might see, and I like to be prepared. The interesting thing about birding is birds are very habitat specific. They are adapted to live in a certain environment because their food source is in that environment. So like a Steller's jay is going to be found in a ponderosa pine forest, or a meadowlark is going to be found in a grassland. You'll never see a meadowlark in a ponderosa pine forest, and you'll never see a Steller's jay in a grassland. And so if you want to see a variety of birds, then you need to visit a variety of habitats. And so when I do what's called like a big day or like the spring migratory bird count, my goal is, in order to see as many different kinds of birds as I can, is to visit as many different habitats in that one day to capture all of the different birds that occur in different habitats.
In the shadow of the Superstition Mountains, Lester Walker has created a bird garden.
Might pick up a few deer here and there, pronghorn mostly.
Photographer Kenny Wilkins lives in Kingman, Arizona, but the Aubrey Valley near Seligman is like his second home.
But this time of year it's kind of quiet, so the hunting is a little bit more extensive. There's thousands of raptors that go along these cliffs here, going south every fall.
He spent 8 years here collecting data on raptor migration to make the case against building a wind farm.
And there was too many raptors in the area. And raptors and wind generators, the blades, they just don't mix.
Wilkins works with wildlife conservation organizations like Arizona Game and Fish to keep raptors safe. And birds of prey are one of his favorite subjects to photograph.
I love when they're landing, when the talons are out, when they're soaring, when they're going after prey. I've picked up eagles fighting over prairie dogs, where they're both, one's upside down, one's on top, and one's holding the prairie dog out, trying to keep it away from the other one, you know. The red-tailed hawk means a lot to me and my family. My brother and I used to sit out in the backyard all the time, and they'd cut the fields, the alfalfa fields behind our house, and there was always a pair of red tails that came out, and we always said that, hey, that's you and me up there. And we'd sit out there and watch them, and you know, every year for hours. Well, my brother passed away in 1997, and when he was passing away, and before he died and after he died, red tails were showing up everywhere. And it doesn't matter where it was. When he was in the hospital, I had two of them hovering over my head, kiting over my head while he was on the phone. And he's going, well, that's you and me. So there's some power behind the bird. They're a messenger. Yeah, the old red tail. Not a day that passes by. Yeah, I don't see that, I don't think of him. By shooting raptors, you can be on the hoof and get out there and walk around and track them. And there's kind of an art to that. With the raptor's vision, if they're looking at you, their head's turned towards you, they're going to see you. But if they turn, their peripheral vision is pretty much nil at that point. So they're not going to see you, and that's the time to approach them. But if they start to turn back, stop. So you can work your way up to them inch by inch and get closer and closer until you can get the shot you need. That's a Harris hawk down by the Salt River, Lower Salt River. Yeah, looking right at me like, what do you want? That's a juvenile red-tailed hawk, which I captured. It was injured, took it to Liberty Wildlife, and they rehabbed it, gave it back to me. I took it up here and released it. The osprey were at Ashurst Lake, up by Flagstaff, Lake Mary, up that way. A lot of fun to watch. That's a golden eagle. I took that picture out here at Aubrey Valley. I have a Facebook page called Kenny Wilkins Photography, and like yesterday was Talon Tuesday. So I always post hawks or a raptor on Tuesdays. I've been a musician since I was 4 years old, and once it's in your blood, you never stop playing. The photography is the same way. Once it's in your blood, you'll never stop.
I've always loved cameras, and I've always taken pictures, and I've always loved nature.
Amateur photographer Lisa Genuit can't recall exactly when she started photographing birds, but a trip to Costa Rica in 2002 had something to do with it.
It's just kind of organic, and you don't really remember, but that's the first time I remember where I was just really, really excited about birds.
Now the Apache Junction resident takes her camera everywhere because she finds birds wherever she goes.
This is the rosy-faced lovebird in a Palo Verde tree just right across the street from my house. Scottsdale Community College. I was teaching a class. I got in my car. I was ready to leave the parking lot, and right on the edge of the parking lot I see this burrowing owl. This is a Harris hawk. It's a juvenile, and It's right near my mom's house in the Arcadia district of Phoenix, in a palm tree. This, I think, is my best osprey shot of all time, and that's here at Gilbert Riparian Preserve. Primary focus here is water birds, egrets, herons, and you can always find something interesting here. It's one of my favorite spots. Different birds are fun to photograph for different reasons. I really love raptors. But other birds are fun because of their color or their pose, like a green heron that's concentrated on a fish. And then I'm always trying to get birds in flight, and with this little simple camera, that's a real challenge too. And I'm still really working on that. Well, it's a Canon PowerShot SX40HS. The lens is all-in-one, but you've got a pretty nice zoom, which you don't have with the older or smaller PowerShot cameras. It's not heavy, it's not clunky. Someday I'll get one for other purposes, with a big lens that gets higher definition, but for right now, this suits my purposes. Black Phoebe, right there, now into the water, now down closer to the water, which is a better shot. I think they're photogenic, I think they're cute. Oh, come on. Stay right where you are for a moment. So it flies off, and a lot of times it comes to the same branch again. There are two of them now. I think I never thought of myself as any kind of a visual artist. I can't draw to save my life. Stick figures, that's one thing that's kind of fun about it, is I'm finding that I do kind of have an eye. I've gotten into Facebook a lot with photos, and I share them on my own page with friends. And then there's Birding Arizona and the Southwest. I think I've got that title right. Peggy Coleman is the moderator, and I really like sharing there. And it becomes like a community, and we teach one another things.
That's nice.
That's swimming right there.
What are you guys seeing over here? I'll see people with big cameras at different birding sites and walk up and say, "What are you seeing today?" Yeah. Nice chatting with you. I don't want to make walking in nature all about the photographs, but the camera gives me also another way to experience it. It's a meditation, I think. It's good for your mental health to have something like this. I'm always birding. So, I do have a life other than birding, but it's a really important part of my life. Yeah, it really is.
On one day each month, the Verde Canyon Railroad is host to some very special guests. This is Sonora and her crew from Liberty Wildlife.
Our hope is through her exposure to the public, that everyone who meets Sonora will go away caring a little bit more about their wildlife.
Sonora was injured in the wild and can't be re-released, so she's become an educational ambassador for Liberty Wildlife and the only bald eagle in the world to regularly enjoy a train ride. When you're looking to recharge your mind, body, and soul, but want a getaway that's strictly for the birds, Southern Arizona is a veritable birding mecca.
Well, this is Ramsey Canyon, and it's right in the migratory path of birds. We get tons of birds through here in the spring and in the fall and all year round.
Shirlene DeSantis owns the Ramsey Canyon Inn near Sierra Vista. Back in the 60s, she and her family were one of the first to discover the potential of the area to attract vacationing birders and wildlife watchers.
I get lots of people in high-stress jobs, and the one thing about birding is that it is so relaxing, and you cannot be worried about things at home when you're trying to find a bird.
The old proverb, a bird in the hand, takes on new meaning at the Casa San Pedro in Hereford, Arizona.
Today we're banding hummingbirds. Once the bird is trapped, they bring the bird over to the table. We take measurements of the bill and wing and tail. We look at the shapes of the outer tail feathers, and all of those things help us to verify that we have identified that bird correctly. We offer them a drink, and then the bird is placed in a hand to be released.
I think he's ready to go.
There he is. Oh. He's looking around. He says, "What are you all looking at, guys?"
Isn't that? Oh, that is gorgeous.
Oh, there he goes.
It's such a unique experience for people to have an opportunity to do that. A lot of people don't see as much as you do here in Southeast Arizona. You know, the eastern part of the states only get one hummingbird, so a lot of people don't get up close and personal with them, and here they're able to get a little closer to nature. The location certainly is a big draw. We're right next to the San Pedro Nature Area, and it's one of the major flyways for birding.
Sam and Dorothy Lage own a historic B&B in the high desert ghost town of Dos Cabezas, near the Chiricahua National Monument. Even when their historic adobes blend into the brown winter desert, they still get birders from all over the world seeking birds they can't find elsewhere.
The main draw to this particular area is in the wintertime, because this is the southern terminus for the migration of a lot of sandhill cranes. We also, at other times of the year, get birders that are sort of in the know and are coming to the area because of our proximity to the Chiricahuas and the diversity that they have there.
Our visitors usually come through in January and April. They're looking for their specific birds in this specific location. That's the detail and level of birders that we're getting here at the Dos Cabezas retreat.
Driving along Interstate 19 south of Tucson and Green Valley, no one would fault you if you stopped to take in the wondrous vistas that lead the way to Madera Canyon. But make no mistake about it, visitors are here at the Santa Rita Lodge first and foremost for the variety of winged wonders.
We have some of the most sought-after birds in the country. You can see north of the border with Mexico. The thing that makes this ideal for birding, this lodge in particular, is just the accessibility to some of the most highly sought-after birds in North America. And any given day, you're going to see 4 to 5 different species that you won't see in other parts of the country. They can come into our birding area, have a shady spot, have their binoculars, and enjoy birds. And I don't want anybody to be limited. And oftentimes birding is strenuous and it's hard work to get to birding areas, and you won't find that at the lodge here.
Tuberosa is kind of a slang term for flower sucker or rose sucker, and it's a term that a lot of our nanas use when they're referring to hummingbirds. My name is Luis Calvo, and I'm the owner of the Tuberosa Bed and Breakfast in beautiful Madera Canyon, Arizona. We get lots of bird watchers and visitors to Madera Canyon, and it seems that almost every single one of them is chasing this holy grail. And as many birders will know, the holy grail in southern Arizona is the elegant trogon. And fortunately, it's a yard bird here.
Whether you find that elusive elegant trogon or not, you will be drawn here to southern Arizona's unique birding destinations.
A growing trend throughout North America are birding festivals. And birding festivals are oftentimes hosted by a community or by a nonprofit. Like it could be the Tucson Audubon Society host their own birding festival in Tucson each year in August. In the Verde Valley here in Arizona, we have the Verde Valley Birding and Nature Festival. These types of events bring birders from all across the United States who want to be exposed to the different varieties of birds that occur in Arizona compared to where they live. The nice thing about these events is that they have professional guides. There might be 10 to 15 field trips every day. You get to register for them in advance, and you go out in a van with 12 to 15 other birders and a guide, and you'll hike around for 6 to 8 hours and look at birds. But the advantage is having a guide.
So if that's the same two red tails that were soaring up here, that other hawk might still be with them.
This is one of my favorite bird festivals. There's a lot of good stuff here, a lot of good people come around. There's a couple from England here birding for the first time in the United States. And so almost everything is new to them.
We only arrived in the country on Tuesday night, and of course, and it's only just Thursday, but we've booked in a couple of trips, one tomorrow morning, one Saturday morning, and then the owls. And of course, I've just seen this fantastic owl, so it was worth coming all the way to see that, that owl up there. That's fantastic. We have barn owls, which I've seen quite often, but we have nothing as big as that. In fact, when the ranger said, you know, I can show you, what's it called, a great horned owl, I actually didn't believe him. I just didn't believe him. I thought it was a stuffed owl. But in fact, it's true, and it's just mind-blowing, really. It's just massive.
Each year on the last Saturday of July, you can attend the High Country Hummingbird Festival held at the SIPE White Mountain Wildlife Area in eastern Arizona.
The High Country Hummingbird Festival is one of our favorite events of the year. The White Mountains here in east central Arizona are right on a major migration pathway for rufous and calliope hummingbirds coming from quite far north as Alaska and western Canada, but is also home to a very large population of nesting broad-tailed hummingbirds and increasing numbers of black-chinned hummingbirds. As the habitat is changing, things are drying out and warming up, black chins are finding more good places to live here in the White Mountains as well.
Another one of the many events held across Arizona is the Wings Over Wilcox Festival. Held during 1 week in January, here you can visit the expo with a variety of vendors and organizations.
So where are you from?
There are seminars as well as field trips around the region to see the wintering birds in the area.
I'm here to do some bird watching.
Oh, this is amazing.
It is beautiful out here.
It's peaceful and you just keep seeing new things. It's exciting.
And there's a lot of birds.
Oh, it's wonderful how birders share with each other.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the gift of a place like this.
This is Whitewater Draw. It's a wildlife conservation area in southeastern Arizona that's managed by the Arizona Game and Fish Department.
We're thrilled. We're seeing so many birds. We're from Southern California, and we're seeing birds that we don't see in Southern California. It's very exciting.
It's a popular destination for bird enthusiasts, especially in the winter when thousands of sandhill cranes make Whitewater Draw their home.
Spectacular.
Worth sitting in the cold and getting up early to come watch this. Ah, here they come. I specifically like the noise that they make. Just gives me goosebumps. I'm Sue Gredigan and my friend George Kolb, and we came down from Bend, Oregon to watch the sandhill cranes here. And this is my second year of coming down to see them, and it's just magical. It's just hard to even believe this is here in the middle of the desert. That we've preserved this is pretty special.
Good morning, my name is Daniel Néron. I'm from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Ah oui, c'est les deux sauts là-bas que je voyais.
My friend Rémi,
Bonjour.
he told me this is the best spot we ever seen in southern Arizona. We saw sandhill crane in eastern part of North America, but just few at a time. It's not the same as 1,000 at a time. It's not the same things.
So we get some birds in here, I've been told, that may have come all the way from Siberia.
I like this particular spot right here where we're standing, yes. The birds consistently seem to land on the beach to our right. Really interesting to watch their movements, how they fly, how they land.
They hang their long legs down underneath and then they just sort of drop out of the sky onto their legs. It sort of reminded me of Mary Poppins coming down with her umbrella and her toes pointed out. And, you know.
They're just so dramatic. They put on quite a show.
And when they all fly at once, you feel like you're in a school of fish with the birds swinging around you. It's just an amazing sight.
When they developed whitewater draw, this place is a gift. It makes people so happy to see these amazing birds up close. I love that because it makes believers out of people who love it and want to save it and do everything they can to protect it.
As you go bird watching across Arizona, here are two birds you don't want to miss.
There are still people here in Arizona, residents lived in Arizona their entire lives, have never seen a bald eagle. Back in 1978, when bald eagles were listed as endangered, there was only 11 known breeding areas in Arizona. As of today, we've got 84 breeding areas across the state. Our population is getting bigger each and every year.
Some of these locations are under the watchful eyes of nest watchers.
It's just fun. It's like getting to know somebody, except a bald eagle.
The male just came into the nest.
They keep track of the day-to-day activities of the bald eagles, and during the breeding season, they help make sure the birds are undisturbed.
This is a nice view. Not all nests are this easy to see into, and so like these birds, you can see their eyeballs. It's pretty cool.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
The condors are an endangered species, and what's cool here is that we have a chance to get up close and personal to them and see them in a completely wild and free setting. We're on the Navajo Bridge, and the condors, they like to roost and nest on the superstructure of the bridge, on the footings and things in the evenings, and so they're here in the morning, like we are right now. They're flying around and showing off to people. So you're up close and personal watching them do what they want to do. Just seeing them do condor things, you know, and things you don't get to see in a zoo or in another place like that where you could get this close to them. And they are 9.5 feet wingspan and they weigh up to 26 pounds. So it's like a huge Thanksgiving turkey flying around at you. They're incredible birds.
This is one of my earliest photographs since I got into photography professionally, and as such, it has an emotional attachment factor to it for me. One of the reasons I really like this photograph, besides that it displays the plumage and the colors of the bird so well, is at the time I was not able to afford a super telephoto lens like a 600mm lens. So I shot this with just a 70 to 200mm lens and happened to be able to approach this bird and watch it feed for a while, and eventually as it took off it flew across the pond in front of me and I was able to capture this in-flight shot. This was taken down at Gilbert Riparian Preserve, one of my favorite locations to try to photograph wading birds and waterfowl.
My path into becoming a professional nature photographer was rather unique and started out with a love of birds at a very young age. I was sitting in my dining room table one day and I saw a red-tailed hawk fly into our backyard and land in the tree. And I was captivated and had to know what kind of bird that was. It was definitely one of the largest ones I'd ever paid attention to that I'd seen before. And so it proceeded to get a field guide of birds of North America and a set of binoculars from my parents as a gift. And I became obsessed with birds. And eventually I started drawing birds with charcoal pencils and with colored pencils. From there I wanted to have my own prototypes to be able to work from. I found that I was always drawing from someone else's pictures or someone else's photographs. And so I realized in order for the artwork to really be my own, that I needed to have my own prototypes to work off of. And so that led me to saving up my money, working really hard, and purchasing my first camera in my late teenage years, about mid-high school years, and started photographing birds. And so I realized soon after that that I actually enjoyed photographing birds more than I liked drawing them, and so I put my pencils aside and started taking pictures of birds. I kind of cringe when I look back at them, but I remember how proud I was of them at the time, and I still have most of the drawings that I made back in those days as well. I kind of went away from photography. I had a family, I had kids that I was taking care of, and other jobs that I was working, and I decided at my wife's inspiration that I should explore photography again and look at getting into that again.
So this has always been a real popular photograph. This is taken down at the Gilbert Riparian Preserve, and for obvious reasons it really conveys a lot of emotion and attitude, and that's what makes it really popular, and that's one of the reasons that it's one of my fondest bird photographs from Arizona. And anytime you get a bird head on, you kind of get this real stern look to its expression, and getting the timing down right to be able to capture that in the moment is key.
So there's definitely a mystique with nature photography, and people find out that you're a nature photographer and they say that it must be an amazing profession, and it is. And people have a natural interest in being able to capture what they see out in the natural world and make it their own in their photographs. And so a lot of the questions that I get will surround the subjects of composition or the basic functions of their camera. And composition is something that I had to put a lot of work into myself personally. And so I made that my focus for a number of years, just really learning composition and working on that and perfecting that. And it's a work in progress. I don't think that you're ever perfect as a nature photographer. I think if you believe you're perfect, then you probably should put your camera down, because there's always something new to learn. I learn things from my clients and my participants that come on my trips all the time. And I think that's actually helped me constantly grow as a photographer, just learning from them.
This is a photograph of a male hooded merganser, and one of the most spectacular of the American ducks, in my opinion. This is a photograph in springtime taken at Papago Park, pretty close to the Phoenix Zoo, which, though it's a public park, it's actually a great location to try to photograph waterfowl and wading birds. Because of its proximity to the zoo, the birds are really well habituated to the presence of people. So they tend to not be quite as skittish. The ponds are fairly small, which makes them a good location for photography because if you're photographing from one side and the birds are in the middle of the pond, they're not too far away from you. And this was obviously in the springtime when he's doing his courtship display, which is a pretty dramatic activity where they'll actually throw their, fan that crest out and throw their head back and open their bill and call and try to attract one of the females that are there on the pond. And I was able to lie on my stomach and get a real low perspective, which gives the angle of the view here that you see with the bird on the surface of the water.
For wildlife, I like to work with birds mostly here in Arizona. There's some great spots right in the Phoenix area even. The Gilbert Riparian Preserve is a great location to find lots of bird life. And the different parts around the greater metropolitan area of Phoenix have burrowing owl colonies that you can find and photograph, and they're pretty tolerant of people.
This is just photographed on some farmland out in the west side of the valley, and there's some crops growing in there behind him, but they're really far away, so you get this really nice soft bokeh in the background that just kind of gives him kind of a green screen effect, and I really like the way he really pops off the page. Shot really early in the morning, so we've got that nice soft light coming from the side and giving him some real good exposure and capturing them right as they swivel their head around and look straight into the lens is always the winning look that you're looking for in these photographs with these burrowing owls.
Currently, I want to be known as someone that takes people to beautiful destinations or to beautiful locations for wildlife photography, and that they can capture the photographs that they see and what they envision in their mind's eye, and leave confident about being able to practice those same things in their own work once they're on their own.
I liked this photograph because it exhibits its behavior of feeding on the inside of the saguaro blossoms, and a lot of times they'll actually bury their whole face right into the blossom where you can't even see its eye anymore. And eventually, after doing this on a few different blossoms, their face will get covered in a lot of pollen, and you get a really cool look. And if you look real closely, right around the eyes, you can actually see a bunch of yellow pollen on its feathers there on its face.
I realized that if I was going to make a living at this, that I needed to focus on teaching. And I didn't know that I was a good instructor. It kind of came as a surprise to me, but all the feedback that I got from my workshop participants, my photo safari participants, was that they were learning things that they'd never learned before and having such a great experience, and word of mouth really took off at that point. And now I have a really wide client base that fills up my trips, you know, years out in advance on my website.
Usually when you photograph hummingbirds, you have two choices. You can either try to freeze the wings and shoot with a really high shutter speed and maybe even some flash in order to get that high shutter speed and freeze the wings. Or you can go with more of a blurred wing motion, which is what I chose to do here. And the key in that respect is usually to try to get the bird right as it's feeding so that the bird itself is fairly stationary, but the wings get that blurred motion. And capturing the light just right underneath its neck gives the nice iridescent colors there. And nice soft background with lots of these other flowers behind there gives it a nice final touch to the image.
So about 2 years ago, I kind of went through a very difficult period in my life where I had a number of different medical scares that developed and really caught me off guard. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease back in the beginning of 2018. So we went through a whole series of tests. Pretty much every single test that I didn't even know existed, I was subjected to. Bone marrow biopsies, and our fear was cancer. And my wife and I started to make a lot of decisions for the future of our life. So we spoke with our children about this and told them what we were faced with and what we were trying to work through. And one of the things that my wife asked me is, what do you want to do with whatever time that you have left if the diagnosis comes back and it is indeed cancer? And I'd been thinking about that nonstop ever since I'd been given the indication that I might have leukemia. And the three things that I was most focused on were that I wanted to focus on spending time with my wife and my 3 children and building wonderful memories with them every moment. And I also had a number of different trips still planned with clients that I know and love me in return. And then finally, I wanted to find a way to give back to other people that were suffering from terminal illness and make their last days wonderful in some way, any way that I could to help them with my photography. And part of my idea behind that is to offer workshops to people suffering from cancer and try to bring some brightness into their life and some happiness and joy into their life and help them create with photography.
Everybody loves cardinals. This is photographed out at the Boyce Thompson Arboretum, and some nice leaf litter out there. And again, this is another situation where I had a bird that was active, and I just kind of placed myself down on the ground and waited for him to get comfortable with me, and he went back to feeding on these berries that he was getting fattened up on as fall is setting in, and was able to capture this kind of side cock to his head with the berry in the middle of its beak, and has a nice complementary colors all around with a little bit of touch of red in the leaf litter underneath him.
We got the results back from our doctor, which very much surprised us. We found out that I did not have any form of cancer, and now, nearly a year later, I basically live the same way that I did prior to going through this whole health scare. However, the experience that I went through will always be with me, and the urgency and the value of every single moment of life is constantly before my mind, and plays into my photography, plays into how I interact with my participants on my workshops or my photo safaris, and has changed me as a person.
And off we go.
So that whole idea of legacy, what I want to be remembered for, kind of came down to I want to develop relationships with people through photography, and I want to make memories with them, because that's what photographs are essentially, right? They're snapshots of time. They're moments in time that you can never regain. They're gone. So there's something very special about capturing that moment. And there's a real bond that develops between photographers that travel with each other. It's amazing. They become like extended family almost. And you share experiences that no one else is there to experience with you. And you have memories, and you've captured those moments together, standing side by side. That's what my interest is. That's what my focus is sharing those moments with people, building those memories with people, teaching them how to capture those so that they can do that in their own life and they can touch other people's lives with their photography. You know, and if I'm remembered for that down the road, so be it. But I really want to just have built relationships with people through photography and help them to capture the photographs that they see in nature wherever they are.
Birdwatching across Arizona is made possible by Arizona Field Optics in Prescott, Arizona, helping individuals deepen their connection to nature through quality optics. specializing in Swarovski and Vortex binoculars and spotting scopes for nature lovers, bird watchers, and outdoorsmen. Visit us at ArizonaFieldOptics.com.